In the year 800 CE, on Christmas Day in the Basilica of St. Peter in Rome, the most powerful military leader in the Western world knelt down. He knelt before a man in robes, a man with no army, no cavalry, no siege weapons, no treasury of gold, and that man placed a crown on his head. The military leader's name was Charlemagne, king of the Franks, conqueror of half of Europe. The man in robes was Pope Leo III. And in that single moment, something extraordinary was established. The idea that kings received their authority from God, and that the Pope was God's representative on earth, which meant the Pope stood above every king, above every emperor, above every throne on earth. Today, we are going to find out how a fisherman's successor became the most powerful human being who ever lived, and what it cost the world. The Pope claims to be the vicar of Christ, the successor of St. Peter, to whom Jesus allegedly said, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." One sentence in one gospel, upon which an institution built the most extraordinary claim to power in human history. But did Peter even go to Rome? The New Testament never mentions it. The Acts of the Apostles follows Paul to Rome but says nothing about Peter. Paul's letter to the Romans greets dozens of individuals by name. Peter is not among them. The foundation of the most powerful institution in Western history rests on historical evidence that is at best uncertain, and at worst, invented. Now let us talk about a document that shaped the political map of Europe for 700 years. The donation of Constantine. According to this document, the Emperor Constantine had granted to the Pope dominion over Rome, Italy, and all the provinces of the Western Empire. Constantine had supposedly given the entire Western world to the Pope. For centuries, this document was used by popes to claim sovereignty over kings. Then, in 1440, the scholar Lorenzo Valla proved it was a fake. The Latin used did not match the Latin of the 4th century. It contained words and constructions that did not exist in Constantine's time. The donation of Constantine had been fabricated by the papal chancery itself. The document that justified 700 years of papal political power was written by the institution that benefited from it. Now let us talk about the moment papal power reached its absolute zenith. The year is 1076. The Pope is Gregory VII. The Holy Roman Emperor is Henry IV. Henry called a council of German bishops and declared Gregory deposed. Gregory excommunicated him, declared him no longer a Christian, released his subjects from their oaths of loyalty, told every nobleman in the empire that they owed Henry nothing. Suddenly, the most powerful king in Europe found himself politically isolated. Henry had one option. In January 1077, in the depths of winter, the Holy Roman Emperor walked barefoot through the snow to the castle of Canossa in northern Italy. He stood outside in the snow in a hair shirt for 3 days, barefoot in winter, begging the Pope's forgiveness. The most powerful secular ruler in the Western world waited in the snow for 3 days for a priest to let him back into the church, because without the church he had no legitimacy, no authority, no right to rule. This is what theological power looks like. The weapon that made this possible was excommunication. In the modern world, it sounds like a minor inconvenience. In the medieval world, it was a weapon of mass destruction. An excommunicated person could not receive communion, could not receive last rites. In a world where everyone believed that dying without confession meant eternal damnation, excommunication was a death sentence for the soul. An excommunicated king lost everything. His subjects owed him nothing. His allies could abandon him without dishonor. His enemies could attack him without sin, and the Pope could go further. He could place an entire kingdom under interdict. No masses, no baptisms, no marriages, no funerals, no last rites. Every man, woman, and child left spiritually unprotected. This was not a spiritual sanction. It was a political weapon of almost incomprehensible power. Now, let us talk about the most audacious claim in the history of human institutions: papal infallibility. The doctrine that when the Pope speaks formally on matters of faith and morals, he cannot be wrong. You might assume this is an ancient doctrine. It was not. Papal infallibility was declared an official doctrine in 1870. The same year, the Italian state marched on Rome and took the Papal States. The Pope, having just lost his kingdom, declared himself infallible. As the Pope's temporal power collapsed, he reached for a theological trump card. You may have taken my land, but you cannot take my divine authority. The doctrine was declared by a vote. Many bishops opposed it. Some walked out rather than vote for it. A man declared incapable of error by other men in a vote. Now let us look at the men who held this office. Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia, Pope from 1492 to 1503. Fathered at least 7 children by multiple mistresses while serving as Pope. Used the papacy to advance his family's political ambitions. Credibly accused of simony, nepotism, and poisoning his enemies. Pope Stephen VI, who in 897 CE had the body of his predecessor exhumed from its grave, dressed in papal vestments, propped up on a throne, and put on trial. The decomposing corpse was found guilty. Its fingers were cut off. The body was thrown into the Tiber River. This event is known as the Cadaver Synod. These are the men who held the keys of the kingdom of heaven. In 1095 CE, Pope Urban II stood before a crowd and delivered a speech that changed the world. He called on the knights of Christendom to march to the Holy Land. He promised that anyone who died on the crusade would receive full remission of all sins, murder, theft, all of it forgiven. The crowd responded immediately. Deus vult, God wills it. The ability to mobilize the military forces of an entire civilization without having a single soldier of your own, simply by declaring that God willed it. The First Crusade ended in the capture of Jerusalem in 1099, and a massacre. Contemporary accounts describe the streets running ankle-deep in blood, slaughtered in the name of the Prince of Peace. How did this power get built? Control the sacraments, control the afterlife, control knowledge, control legitimacy. These 4 mechanisms created a system of power that no army has ever matched. Not because the claims were true, but because enough people believed they were. The genius of the papal system was that it located its power not in something that could be taken away, not in land, which can be conquered, not in armies, which can be defeated, not in gold, which can be stolen. It located its power in belief, in the terror of death, the longing for meaning, the need to believe that someone, somewhere, is in charge. And it told people it was the authorized representative of whoever that someone was. For over 1,000 years, most people believed it, and in believing it, they made it true. That is the most important lesson of papal history. Power is not given by God. It is given by the people who believe in it, and it can be taken back by the people who stop. You have been watching Unmasking the Gods, from a sentence in the Gospel of Matthew to the crown of an empire, from a forged document to dominion over continents. This is how the most powerful office in human history was built. Not by God, by men, using the oldest tools available: fear, forgery, and the human need to believe. Subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you want to unmask next, and remember, the gods were never what they told you, but what they actually are is worth everything.